The Golden Knights get right against the Anaheim Ducks. Our recap up next on Locked On VGK.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning and welcome to Thursday's edition of Locked On VGK, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's get right to it. The Golden Knights come back after their rough loss, I guess we can call it, Condos, against their rough loss to the Carolina Hurricanes Monday night. And lo and behold, on the dad's trip where the Golden Knights, I don't think, have lost a game in the history of their existence, they get the Anaheim Ducks on the road. And I won't say they cruised to a 3-2 victory, but it was a pretty handled victory, I guess you can call it. Not dominant, but not necessarily much of a game as well. The Ducks got the scoring started early. Pietrangelo, rough turnover down low. Brock McGinn is right there to make it a 1-0 game for the Ducks. Something we'll talk about later. The response of the Vegas Golden Knights is on display. Kolesar creates a turnover down low. Nick Waugh is basically in the bumper position, makes it a 1-1 game. Something else we're going to talk about. Tomas Hertl scores quickly on the power play. Is Tomas Hertl becoming a power play merchant for the Vegas Golden Knights? Pavel Dorofeev gives the Vegas Golden Knights the go-ahead goal in the third period. Vetrano gets a goal late for the Ducks to make it a 3-2 game. Not sure what exactly happened on that one, but got a little interesting at the end. But the Golden Knights would hold on to a 3-2 victory. Condos, we were texting up and back as the game was going on. You said VGK has always had a response this season. How do you feel about the Golden Knights' response last night's?
I think they had to come out and take care of business, and that's what you do is you got to put away opponents that are lesser and below you in the standings. So they did what was needed. They got 2 points, banked 2 points, really bounced back and away from the Carolina shellacking that happened a couple of nights prior, and it got the road trip off on a positive start.
Do you think that the first goal by Brock McGinn and Alex Pietrangelo, terrible turnover on that one, but you think that was just simply a wake-up call for the Golden Knights, almost what they needed to get that game going?
I really don't think the game really opened up until Vegas took that 2-1 lead with Hertl's power play goal. At that point, I sent you a text. I said the ice has really opened up. Anaheim really did a good job for up to that point of playing very tight defense. There wasn't a lot of ice, not a lot of room to work with. So once that opened, it was almost like the Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the mouth. And well, Tomas Hertl punched him in the mouth. And suddenly you saw a lot more giveaways and a lot less discipline on the Anaheim side. You got to credit VGK for making that happen.
So on that note, usually the team that finds their game first and sustains their game the longest wins. It's a pretty simple roadmap to success in the National Hockey League, and not just hockey, but really all of the major four sports. Do you feel that the Golden Knights found their game really, or were they just kind of treading water against a lesser opponent? And I was watching the game somewhat closely. I was also opening boxes and boxes of sports cards last night, so I wasn't completely dialed in. I feel the first period was pretty even. I felt like the Golden Knights had the puck more, but the Ducks had more scoring chances. As the game went on, I feel the ice tilted a little bit for the Golden Knights, but I don't feel the Golden Knights necessarily dominated the way that maybe many thought they would have.
I saw it exactly the same way. I had the first period as an absolute draw, and second period, it tilted towards the Knights, but there was never a moment that said they're going to put Anaheim away. Anaheim hung around. The game was sloppy on both ends, especially defense was a lot of giveaways. I'm pretty sure Cassidy is not happy right now with the defensive effort. Shea Theodore fanned on a few, blew out a tire. Pietrangelo had a few turnovers. That's really been the drawback of the Golden Knights. When they're playing well, you see tape-to-tape passes. You see recovery. When they get into trouble, especially in a defensive end, is you have one or two of the defensemen behind that pass the puck to each other. Then you have the other three just kind of waiting outside the zone, waiting for the puck to magically come to them instead of someone coming back and helping out. And that's when VGK gets into trouble. That's when they get sloppy. You see those turnovers. Still have the turnovers yesterday, but Anaheim is so punchless on offense that VGK was able to cover any errors that might have gotten them into trouble against a greater opponent.
According to Hockey Stat Cards, great Twitter follow just to kind of see how each individual player did. On the bottom is the pairing of Pietrangelo and Noah Hannafin. That's the lowest ranked players for the Golden Knights of the 18 skaters. Up on top, you got Shea Theodore, Braden McNabb, Nicholas Waugh, Zach Whitecloud. Pietrangelo and Hannafin, Coach Cassidy put those two back together and made some changes, which we and Tony talk about this a lot on the show. The Golden Knights really seemed to get things going again when the defensive pairings went back to similar what they used last year, obviously injuries withstanding. What are your thoughts on the pairing of Pietrangelo and Hannafin this season?
I feel that they're too similar to each other, and you have to have complements when you have defense. You got to have one guy who goes up, one guy who stays back and has the defensive stay-at-home responsibility. That's why McNabb will match up well with a stronger offensive guy such as Shea Theodore. When you put two guys that are offensive-minded such as Pietrangelo and Hannafin, it leaves the back end lacking.
No, that's fair. And on paper, I love the way the Golden Knights, we talked about this a lot as well. I love the way the Golden Knights broke camp with what felt like more complementary players together. I believe Theodore and Pietrangelo were together, which that's more balls to the wall, if you will, even than Hannafin and Pietrangelo is. So those two are getting on the score sheet a lot, but on the defensive side, it just feels like there's some concerns there. Another talking point I got, the Golden Knights inside game, all of their goals came from in tight, creating turnovers, boxing out, almost just kind of outwilling the opponent, maybe almost a little old school 80s type of hockey right there. How do you feel about the Golden Knights as far as their inside game and work around the net?
Outside of Jack Eichel, when you thought about the old school, the very first ones, it was speed, forecheck. That was the early calling card of the Misfits. This team is more methodical. When you think of Tomas Hertl, Dorofeev, these are not guys that are going to outskate you, but they're going to have to outwill you. Dorofeev, great shot. Don't get me wrong. And he is everything. He's replacing everything that Marchessault was. Let's talk about him for just a split second.
Everything that Marchessault was.
On the season.
Dorofeev replaced Marchessault completely. He's gone. Dorofeev's the man. Okay, I like it.
That's happened. And when I talked earlier this year at the beginning of the season about where I thought the team was going to be, that was the biggest concern. And I don't think anybody was going to dispute that. Where were the goals going to come from? Now, if you look at what Dorofeev has stepped in and become, now he shoots lefty rather than righty, but it's just the mirror opposite of he's coming from the right face-off circle rather than the left side where Marchessault liked to shoot.
Yeah, and obviously if you're on that right circle with a left-handed shot, a lot more one-timers, quick releases, and things like that. And one thing we know, Eichel, especially on the power play, he's going to find a way to get the puck on the stick of all five players. And having someone like Dorofeev on that right side can certainly help there. Last thing to talk about, Adin Hill, 5 starts in a row. At the end of the game, he looked gassed. He looked so gassed when he took the mask off and was congratulating everybody. But Adin Hill goes 5 straight games. Utah, where am I? In home versus Utah, in Edmonton, in Seattle, home against Carolina, on the road against Anaheim. Number one, Adin Hill was decent last night. I think we can agree on that. Made his layups. Couple posts help him, but Adin Hill made his layups and made a few saves that certainly were a little tougher as far as just an average type of save. Adin Hill is decent. Do you think the Golden Knights maybe are putting him through the ringer with 5 starts in a row?
The short answer, yeah, because that's never been his workload. This is not a guy that's going to go out and start 65, 70 games. You're not looking at classic 90s goaltenders that are going to get out there and just, here's your ace. I'm playing every game. And if I'm gassed, I'm going to find it. Adin Hill has always been a 1A, 1B type of guy, a timeshare goaltender. So him starting 5 games is uncharted territory. Now, the question is this: is there a lack of trust beyond
Yes.
And so he's forced out there. Here's your risk. If he keeps going out there, he's been injured just about every single year. What happens if Aiden Hill goes down?
And that's the thing. This has obviously been a strong talking point of mine. Logan Thompson, who finally gets 2 starts in a row. It's pretty funny talking with him on the side yesterday. Logan Thompson gets 2 starts in a row with the Washington Capitals. They've been going 50-50, him and Chucky Lindgren. They've been going 50-50. Right. Thompson went twice in a row. So I think the Caps are Friday in Colorado and then Sunday in Vegas. So all signs point to Logan Thompson starting against the Golden Knights. But we were joking on the side because Logan never got 2 starts in a row when Aiden Hill was healthy until the playoffs, obviously, when Aiden Hill fell off so bad. And now Aiden Hill goes out and gets 5 starts in a row. So the concern is about the lack of trust behind Samsonov. We saw this last year with Yuri Patera. Yuri Patera, I think, had 5 starts and 6 appearances, if I'm not mistaken. Season before that, the Golden Knights churned through 5 goaltenders en route to their Stanley Cup. So my early read on the goaltending situation is that Bruce Cassidy has not learned a thing as far as how to manage the workload of the goaltenders. Yes, 5 starts in a row doesn't seem like a big deal. There was no back-to-backs or anything like that. But at the end of the day, you're taking a goalie who now has never had greater than 32 regular season appearances, working him a lot, and not giving Schmid a shot. Schmid looked pretty good in mop-up duty against the Hurricanes on Monday. You think he would have earned the start against Anaheim, but in any event, it's a 3-2 Vegas Golden Knights winner against the Anaheim Ducks. Next up for the Vegas Golden Knights is going to be a game in Utah, their first trip to take on the Utah Hockey Arizona Coyote Club hockey.
I was waiting on your Coyote quib. You have to have at least one every time you mention them.
Yeah, no, people give me crap all day about that.
Oh, yeah, I'm right there giving you crap. It's like he comes on to like, and the Coyotes be like, no. All
right, coming up next, we're going to talk about Tomas Hertl. Is Tomas Hertl a power play merchant currently for the Vegas Golden Knights? Today's episode of Locked On VGK is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NHL, NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We are also brought to you by Select Quote. The World Series, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, the Stanley Cup. The world's top athletes get to play in top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. In sports, winning is everything. That's why you always need a good strategy to keep moving towards the goalposts. Winning strategies for life are just as important, and that's why my team, I have life insurance through Select Quote to protect my legacy and my family's financial future. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Select Quote, they shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. It's moments like that where I miss Tony. Tony's the captain of all the ad reads and everything.
We got better camera work today, though.
Yes. There you go. All right, welcome back to Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. Myself, Chris Golick, and we got Chris Condos hanging out with us. Tony is scouting the Federal League, looking for some grit for the Vegas Golden Knights for the next 2 days. So we look forward to Tony's dynamic reporting and high-quality reporting, Condos. We'll see who the next Ogie Oglethorpe is out there. I learned some new, Condos. Remember our Syracuse bowling trip? Me and Condos bowled together, and long time coming. Our Syracuse bowling trip, though, I learned something about that War Memorial where the Syracuse Crunch plays. What, you want to know what that is?
Yeah, it has to do with Slapshot.
Exactly. I had no idea when I was in there. I went to a game during our bowling trip, I think in 2015, 2016, whatever the heck that was. And I had no idea up until I think last week I learned that's where they filmed that.
Yeah, just don't play Lady of Spain again. You'll be just fine.
Just what?
Don't play Lady of Spain again.
Jeez. That's good. All right. I want to talk about Tomas Hertl for a little bit here. I want to talk about Tomas Hertl. So Hertl on the power play, doing very, very good things. I remember when the Golden Knights traded for Hertl. I wasn't really sure the identity of Hertl. We really didn't learn a lot about him last season either. Clearly, Hertl was injured. I don't think he would have hit the ice if he remained with the San Jose Sharks. Was healing from probably a variety of lower body injuries. So in the offseason, I was chirping a little bit, basically saying I think the Golden Knights may have made a mistake in moving on from Chandler Stevenson and trading for Tomas Hertl. I got lit up, and it was fair. I got lit up. 5-on-5 machine, puck, really good at winning the board battles, really good at puck possession, a lot of important key clogs, if you will, for a second-line center. I said, okay, cool, looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen the 5-on-5 version of Tomas Hertl as far as getting it done on that second line. Now, let's give him some credit before we're not going to bash him the whole time. At least I'm not going to. Maybe Condos is. But Dorofeev, we talked a lot about in the first segment. Dorofeev's got 12 points in 16 games. Dorofeev's career mark is about a point every other game. That's what it was coming into the season. Dorofeev's on pace for 62, 63, 65 points. Dorofeev's on the second line with Tomas Hertl. Brett Howden, I think it's already almost a career season for Brett Howden. He's only played 16 games. 6 goals, 1 assist, 7 points. Brett Howden is the other piece of that line with Tomas Hertl. Really quick, Tomas Hertl, 13 points this season, 5 goals, 8 assists. On the power play, 4 goals, 3 assists. So half of his points have come on the power play. 4 of his 5 goals have come on the power play. Talk a little bit about Tomas Hertl and what you're seeing.
Well, first, let's talk about the Brett Howden line. No, I'm kidding.
There you go, Tony.
I had to really think about this one because I've gone back and forth on Hertl. I went back and looked at some of his San Jose numbers. He's never been a massive goal scorer. If you looked at his numbers, he hit 30 goals one time in his career. Where he did score and do really well, playoffs. He had in the Stanley Cup run where they went to the finals, he had 10 goals. So he had 6 goals on 2 other occasions as well. So you look at his game and you're like, well, is it a playoff game? And in spite of him not being successful last year, and let's give him credit that he was even on the ice.
Yep.
That was the reason why he didn't really perform to what we expected. So do I expect him to be big in the regular season outside of the power play? No, I don't. He's trending towards 20 goals on the regular season. Over half of those are going to be on the power play. That's what he's going to be. Where he's going to have his value is on the power play unit. And when the playoffs come around, because that bumper position, puck possession, everything you need in the playoffs, that's where Tomas Hertl is going to earn that contract.
Is Tomas Hertl simply just a quiet center that does everything right and doesn't stick out? Is that kind of why we're having this discussion? And I'll follow that up with, is Tomas Hertl making Brett Howden and Pavel Dorofeev that much better?
Short answer on the last question, yes. The former question is, if you saw Tomas Hertl's game as he came up with the Sharks, it was very flashy, a great skater. He can cut around. Now you look at him today, he looks more like a mini Hossa. Slower, methodical, and he's definitely he's missed a lot of games of injury in San Jose. He is not a guy that went out and played 81, 82 games. So you look at that and you're like, well, he's in his 30s. He's going to slow down. He's going to play smarter. And so you look at preservation. You want to get to the playoffs, which is the most important thing. And so I don't think he's going to go 100% every single shift. He's going to give you 95%, make the smart play, make his line mates look good. And so I think that's what his game is, and be an absolute beast on the power play. Very smart player, high IQ.
Hertl's 82 game average throughout his 734 game career, 25 goals, 31 assists. As far as power play, 6 power play goals is his yearly average. 7 power play assists is his yearly average. So he's looking to go well beyond his average for power play goals. He's right on the number as far as overall assists and slightly behind his goal scoring totals. Obviously, it's early in the season. A lot can certainly change.
He's one other thing I want to add. If you look at his shooting percentage this year, he's at just under 18% shooting percentage. So he's scoring a lot on what shots he is taking, and those are coming on the power play.
Hertl's a high IQ player. I think we agree on that. And you mentioned Hossa. Obviously, you and I watched Hossa very closely for a large portion of his career, being Chicago Blackhawk fans too. So Hertl and Hossa, mentioned in the same sentence. I don't mind it. I think obviously Hossa and Stone have a few more parallels, but I certainly understand the comparison. Last question about Hertl. Would the Golden Knights, that second line, have been better if it was Stevenson, Howden, Dorofeev, or was it the right decision to move on from Stevenson and go with the Tomas Hertl?
They were forced into the decision on Stevenson. I don't think there was a choice, considering the contract he got in Seattle, and it was a day one signing. And it was widely panned around the league if you looked around and kind of
still panned, especially for those up in the Pacific Northwest.
Right. So it was one of those situations. If you're not talking about the salary cap, would you take player A or player B? You could have that discussion, but you can't just because of the salary cap. It was the Hertl thing was happening, and I'm pretty sure that McCrimmon already was deciding who was in and who was out well before the playoffs even happened.
The writing was on the wall, obviously, when Tomas Hertl was signed. Stevenson did not have a place on the 24-25 roster. And I did have some perspectives in the offseason about maybe Stevenson might have been the better option. I don't think Stevenson would have got the same. Stevenson, I think, would have taken a lesser contract to stay in Vegas. I don't think it would have been a lot less. That said, I mean, I like what Tomas Hertl is doing on the power play, number one. The Golden Knights had a lot of goals leave the team, as Coach Cassidy alludes to a lot. So the power play, I think, came in ranked third or fourth. They got a power play goal last night, so it's not going to hurt their overall ranking. Tomas Hertl is certainly a big part of the special teams' success. And then you look at the success of Howden and Dorofeev. It's I don't know, a world that exists where you would assume Brett Howden and Pavel Dorofeev are in the top 6 second-line wingers, but you put them on the outsides of Tomas Hertl, and good things seem to happen. So we'll see how things go. Hertl is a bit of a power play merchant on the stat sheets, but what he's bringing to the Vegas Golden Knights, I think, is a lot more, and it's going to be a little boring at times. So just keep watching the success of Dorofeev and Howden if you're wondering what Tomas Hertl is bringing to the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about what taught us more. Was it Monday's loss against the Hurricanes, or was it Wednesday's win against the Anaheim Ducks? Stick around to find out. We are brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Sign up and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You think Connor McDavid will get more than 1 point in tonight's game? Is Austin Matthews going to get more than 1 assist? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this hockey season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. Tony likes a pause. That's why we got to do this awkward pause because he has to upload the audio and everything. So we're good to go here. All right. Welcome back to Thursdays. I guess this is the Chris and Chris show again. Thursday edition of Locked on Vegas Golden Knights. Also check out Saturdays when the stars align, so to speak, for the Chris, and I guess we'll call it the Chris Jr. show today so we don't confuse us. Way too many Chris's. We're all from Chicago. We all congregate together. It's always interesting for me and Condo's life outside of Locked on VGK. We always find Chris's name, Chris is from Chicago or Chicago people. We all kind of congregate together, I guess. So this is a segment that you pitched me on last night, so I'll kind of let you start us off. What do you think has taught us more about who the Golden Knights are? Monday's loss against the Hurricanes or Wednesday's victory against the Ducks?
You can use that as a barometer. Also, something that you need to use as a barometer are the losses that VGK had to Eastern Conference teams. You're talking about losing in Washington, losing in Tampa, losing in Florida, losing at home to Carolina.
All good teams.
These are the elite of the East. And if you look at the goal differential, and that's something that I don't look at the win-loss record because you have 3-point games. It skews teams that are really below average to, we're 500. We look pretty good when they're really not that good. In the Pacific Division, as of going to yesterday's game, only 2 teams were in the green, positive. That was the Kings and the Knights. Now, I'm not sure what happened in last night's numbers, but
Vancouver's now +1 as well, but yes.
Who's now +1?
Vancouver +1.
Vancouver's now +1. Okay. So you have essentially 3 teams that are positive goal differential, which means you have 5 solid negative goal differential teams. It tells you that the Pacific Division is anemic. Now, what you have to do is take care of business against anemic teams such as Anaheim last night. So where do the Knights really come in is the question. The answer is they're a good team, but they're not a top-level team in the NHL as this team is constructed today. Kelly McCrimmon will make trades. You have one of the best GMs in the game. He is not afraid to take chances. So as the team is constructed today, November 14th, they're a good team, not an elite team.
No, and that's very fair. Goal differential is really fast, some good stuff. 6 teams in the West have positive goal differentials. There we go. I didn't word, whatever. Winnipeg, Minnesota, Dallas, just fake it till we make it. Vegas, Los Angeles, Vancouver. Vancouver comes in at a +1. A lot more positive goal differentials in the East, and certainly just a different brand of hockey as the Golden Knights have struggled against. As far as what taught us more, the Golden Knights got to beat the Ducks. I mean, got to beat the Sharks, got to beat the bottom feeders. Golden Knights, I think they left 6 points on the table last year against the Anaheim Ducks, if I'm not mistaken, would have made a big difference in playoff seeding. What matters, not what matters more, but what taught us more. The Golden Knights should beat the Ducks. The Golden Knights, everyone would have hoped would have been on the same level, or at least made a competitive game, if you will, against the Hurricanes. That didn't happen by any means. It wasn't even close to a competitive game. So I think we learned a little more about this version of the Golden Knights when watching them lose to the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, no Nicholas Hague, no Mark Stone, no Victor Olofsson. Those are pretty important players. I think it could be a more competitive situation if, even 2 of those 3 players are on the ice. Are the Golden Knights still competitive with teams like Carolina? The book is still out, obviously. You mentioned the teams that the Golden Knights have beaten this season versus the teams they have lost to. They've lost to the top teams in the East. They've done a good job in mop-up duty against a lot of teams in the West. So Golden Knights right now, like you said, good, not great. 32 spots in the NHL. Let's say the top 4 teams are your perennial Stanley Cup contenders. Right now, your Jets and your Capitals, and pick a couple other teams. Your next tier of teams, will say 6 teams, are your division competitors. Your next 10 spots, this is the third tier, are your playoff contenders who are probably going to be in. Will they be in the top part of the conference or the bottom part? And then your last, call it 12 remaining teams, are those who the best case scenario is a wild card. First tier, second tier, third tier, fourth tier. Where are the Vegas Golden Knights to get today?
I would put them at the bottom of the second tier. So if you were to put them in a power ranking, 10th, maybe 11th, somewhere in that range. Like, luckily they are in the Pacific. If they were out in the East, they would be fighting for their lives to get in the playoffs. But you have a lot of Charmin out here in the Pacific Division and a lot of easy points to scoop up, and that's good. I mean, it's you got to play to your advantage. And if you have Calgary, Edmonton, who is not doing much right now, we'll see. Wait to see on them. Vancouver, I was not expecting they were not going to be last year. I've been proven right thus far. They're fine, but they're not great.
8-3-3, 19 points, not bad.
They're not great. They're fine. We'll see. But
yeah, I mean, the
Kings
Pacific is
one.
The Pacific is hopefully the gift that will keep on giving all year long for the Vegas Golden Knights. That's advantage Golden Knights, and you made a lot of good points, especially about McCrimmon. If McCrimmon views this as a Stanley Cup contender, really starting about December, you're going to start seeing some things happening. Golden Knights got a little bit of room to work with, and injuries, we'll see how long they're going to be. Mark Stone, no timetable yet. Not going to play on this road trip. That part's pretty obvious. Does he come back Sunday against Washington, or do they announce Monday he had a successful surgery and we'll see him in March? I don't know, but we'll I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I'm simply going off of historical data. So I think that's going to put a wrap. You got something to say? I see the mouth open.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the team is definitely in transition. It's a wait-to-see team. I think that's where the front office is looking like they're going to wait and see what the team dictates, how we're going to move forward. I think next year you're going to see the Vegas Golden Knights be more active. That's another time, another place. But as for this year, you're off of a lot of change, a lot of new parts, and I think they're going to at least give them some time just to see how it shakes out before there's moves made.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it all makes sense. Whether this is a season the Golden Knights do sell out again like they have every other season, or if the master plan is the 25-26 season, which is what I said going into the season. I guess it's a wait and see, but cautious optimism, I think, is where you and I have moved our excitement level for the Golden Knights. I don't think we're going to waver off of cautious optimism, at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks after some of these tough road games. All right, definitely want to thank everyone for checking out the other Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. Reminder, you can catch Locked On VGK anywhere you get your podcast, Monday through Friday, YouTube as well. And Saturdays, when the stars align, you'll see the Chris and Chris Jr. show. That's me and my son, Christopher. I want to thank Condos for hanging out. We'll certainly get Tony back. I think next week, Condos. If you want to record tonight or tomorrow, we'll talk about that on the side. So maybe we'll run the show back tomorrow. Condos will get an appearance for WTF on Friday. All right, for myself, for Chris Condos, for Tony Cordasco, I want to thank you for checking out today's edition of Locked On VGK. And as Tony would say, take care.